Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I actually wanted to do the Q&A that I meant to do yesterday. So first of all, thank you so much for all of your questions. Again, if you do want to take part in these Q&As, go follow me on Discord. The channel name, or I guess server name, is Appetite for the Dead. The link for it should be in the description. I do these once a week. This one here primarily focuses on episode 1 and episode 2. So yeah, a lot to talk about here. So make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Episode 2 was airing in 3 days. I'm so excited to watch this episode. So if you want to get my review on that as well as my trailer breakdown for episode 3, then again, make sure to hit subscribe. But let's get into the first question here. So do you think the signals from Europe could have been the nun on the radio that mentioned it to Daryl? I guess I'm not entirely sure what you're referencing there, but I'm assuming that you're referencing the newspaper or whatever that said signals from Europe. If it is referencing that, I guess it's entirely possible. Like, there is a lot of stuff when it comes to the Civic Republic that we just don't know a lot about right now in terms of just the overall sort of, I guess, structure of it all. You know, like we know that there is a military aspect to it. We know that there's, a lot of people, I guess, a part of the Civic Republic that don't really like the military. So there's a lot to it, like the Civic Republic as a place isn't necessarily a bad place. It's just the military is, right? The military is a really, really bad part to it. And I think that's why Rick has overall been fine, though if he is doing or dealing with certain things, he's definitely dealing with it in terms of the military side of things. And so overall, obviously, he's not really being treated right. So I think in terms of that, I think it is very possible. Like in the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of things I think that, we'll see that I think they're going to be trying to make a lot of connections with a lot of stuff. And I think that's probably one of them. There are connections, obviously, between, America and France. Like there seems to be some sort of knowledge of all of it, but it's just as of now it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what. But as the shows progress and stuff, we obviously will learn a lot more about it. But yeah, Q&A: with a lot of properties delving into the multiverse, if The Walking Dead ever does a multiverse story, what would you want it to be? See, yeah, and you mentioned that this is sort of a fun question because, yeah, that would be. I mean, I think if they did do a multiverse, it really would not work out because there's just really no way. Like, The Walking Dead works really well because it's very grounded and very realistic. I know it's silly to say because we're starting to get these variant walkers and all that, but that is sort of in a realistic, a realm, I would say, overall. Like, the thing is, the way they explain zombies is something that sort of happens, I guess, after you die, or it's something that you kind of have, like, it's almost biological. Like, I know in our real world it makes no sense, but you can see how it could make sense, right? And then you start to get into variants and stuff like that. It's all a part of the same thing, right? Like, you can kind of go to these places, but if you go to the multiverse and, just to be able to get into that part of it, is very, very ridiculous. Like, that's where you definitely, it's not really, grounded anymore at that point, and the story just becomes really, really insane at that point. And like, what in those multiverses, but in those universes, are there certain characters that are still alive? You know what I mean? Whereas in our universe, like, say, like Rick's alive right now, but in their universe, Rick's actually dead. Like, then you get into some silly situations. But I do think, if they were to do something like that, I mean, maybe just do it in a comic form. I think for the comics, it would just be kind of fun to read about. Q&A: do you think it would have been better if they didn't kill off most of the nuns and built their story from there? I just think they could have had a bigger role to play, if I'm honest. In terms of that, I guess I see what you mean. I think that we probably will see a lot more. There is still a lot that I'm kind of wondering about. Like, Codron and his people just kind of left afterwards, right? Actually, if anything, Codron just kind of left. There were still some more nuns there, I believe. At least I'm under the impression that, it wasn't just Isabelle and Sylvie left. Like, to me, that'd be crazy. Out of everyone that was there, it was just Isabelle and Sylvie left. And obviously Laurent and Daryl were there as well. But, out of the nuns, it would just be those two left. I think there's a lot more. I think they're taking care of that place. And I guess we'll just kind of see where they go from there. But that's the thing too, I guess, like, we'll kind of learn through Isabelle, just some more dialogue on what actually really happened. Because to me, it just kind of seemed like at the end, they buried who they had to bury, but they were basically going to go on this journey anyways, because Isabelle wanted to go on this journey with Daryl to bring Laurent to this place, right? So I think that's really why they're going overall. But Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they actually did all die. I mean, if they did, that's really crazy. Q&A, what do you expect from the second episode of Daryl Dixon? Well, I'm expecting a lot of the Outbreak stuff to be a lot of fun. Like, I think that is something that we're going to see so much more about, and I can't wait to see Isabelle's side to things, because Isabelle is becoming a really big character for a lot of people, right? Like, a lot of people are big fans of her. So I think that we could honestly see quite a bit of stuff there that could be pretty exciting. And it would be just really exciting from the point of view of, you know, if you like pre-apocalypse storylines kind of thing, or just like the Outbreak type of thing, right? So that's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm expecting to really like a lot of that. In terms of the actual journey, yeah, obviously make some progress there, but I feel like for this episode, we're probably going to take a step back a little bit and just focus on some character stuff. Maybe we'll see some like Madame Genet stuff in terms of experiments and all of that, because obviously there's only 6 episodes, so you sort of have to get through a lot of that right away, but we'll have to wait and see. But that's kind of what I'm expecting. And yeah, Q&A, do you think either Laurent or Isabelle will die? I don't assume both will survive this season. Yeah, that's a hard thing to say. So out of both characters, who would I want to live going into season 2? Well, I would prefer Isabelle to stay alive. I think that Isabelle has a lot of potential as a character. A lot of people love this character already. Literally, it's only been 1 episode, but a lot of people love Isabelle as a character. So I think she has a lot of potential. I really do. Laurent, I think it's hard to say at this point, obviously, because he was just introduced, and also he's a kid character, right? For some reason, whenever there's kids on the Walking Dead universe, people don't like them that much. I will say with Laurent, it's not as bad as it was with other kids in the universe, like Carl back in the day, or Judith, or whatever. You know, he's definitely more liked, but, you know, if I had to choose out of the two, I would prefer Isabelle to stay until season 2. Realistically, though, if I were to look at the story, I don't think they would kill Laurent off, because if he is the cure, or if there is some legitimacy to the whole thing, there's no way he can just die right away. So if one of them had to die, it would make more sense for Isabelle to die, right? But I don't know. We'll have to just wait and see where the story goes. I think they both survive this season, though. I don't think either of them die. We'll have to wait and see who dies this season. There's definitely going to be some deaths for sure. I just don't see them killing Laurent or Isabelle off, unless they kill off Laurent in a way that makes sense for the story, and it's like this big emotional moment that happens in the very final episodes, sort of thing, right? Q&A, do you think it's possible that Daryl knows where Rick is? I have a theory as to why he may, and I think it could be directly related to everyone's idea that Daryl was talking to Carol in that scene from the trailer. Daryl left in season 11 solely to find Rick. Is it possible that on his journey to Maine, where he supposedly discovered some clues regarding the CRM, that he could have discovered Rick's location, so the reason he was contacting Carol was to head home and get more people to rescue Rick, considering getting him back alone would be near impossible with how big the CRM is? That could make sense as to why he was taken prisoner on that ship. Clearly, Rick is someone important to the CR, and they wouldn't want Daryl interfering, so they sent him overseas. Maybe I'm reaching here, but that would be really cool if he actually knows Rick's location. Well, you know, honestly, I don't think that idea is that out there. Like, I think that makes a lot of sense. Maybe he doesn't know where Rick is specifically, like, because Rick is in Philadelphia. Maybe he doesn't know that Rick is there, but maybe he knows and he's aware of the fact that Rick was in this area not too long ago, like a year or two ago. Or maybe he's starting to get an idea as to where he is, right? Like Daryl's actually finding some clues. And I think it makes a lot of sense that the Civic Republic, or at least the military, would have some issues with that, right? Because you got to remember, it's not the Civic Republic, it's the military. And I always stress that, because I think people think the Civic Republic's going to be this place of like 200,000 people and they're all evil kind of thing, right? Like they're this massive force, but no, like they're honestly overall just a peaceful place. A lot of them are protesting the military because the military has too much control. You know, I saw some stuff in the newspaper things that they wanted civilian oversight in places in the Civic Republic or whatever. So it's like, when I see stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, the Civic Republic seems to be overall a good place, but it's just being run by these like villain type of characters, right? And I think that's why we're going to see a lot of stuff like this. And I think a lot of it makes sense that the military would be really involved if, you know, Rick, first of all, is very important, because he is. Yeah, they would be involved and obviously protecting him at all costs, because he's a huge asset for them. And if Daryl was getting close, you know, if they're keeping tabs on Alexandria, then yeah, it just makes perfect sense that Daryl would be affected. So it's not that crazy of an idea. I could totally see it. Q&A, why does the boat that took Daryl have such a strange path? It says that we're in the Gulf of Cadiz when Daryl escaped, which is literally right below Spain. Then all of a sudden they went north or to North France. That's like an extra 1,000 plus miles. Well, I see the map that you kind of showed here, and you sort of drew exactly where he went. I think that he didn't go around that way, like go around to the left, around Portugal, all the way to France up there, because they're trying to get to Paris, which is like up north from them, right? And I don't know exactly how you pronounce it, like Marseille or Marseille or whatever, but that place is where I think they are right now. Like they're closer there. So I actually think he sort of went through that way. I mean, I don't know if that piece of land that's right there is all connected, if you actually are able to get through there. So I think that's probably, I think it's definitely a shorter path than that. And it's also very possible that when Daryl jumped off the ship, that it wasn't just him in the water. Maybe he was in the water for a little bit, but maybe he actually found a boat and then he started to actually like try to get to shore somehow. And so he was on the boat, obviously trying to get to shore, but then maybe something happened where obviously the ship just like started to sink or whatever. And then he just tied himself to it, right? That makes some sense. And then he ended up on shore kind of thing. So he just really fought to survive when he was out there in the water. Because, yeah, he's not in northern France or anything like that. That's where they're going right now, but they're far south. So Q&A, do you think that the CRM is spying on the Commonwealth by wearing their advanced walker masks like we saw in World Beyond? I could see that being a possibility. Like, to me, I think the Civic Republic military know of pretty much every place. Like, I think they know of almost every big community. Something like the Commonwealth, yeah, like they're definitely aware of it. And there was mentions in the final season. I know they never mentioned the Civic Republic military, exactly, but Lance and Pamela hinted at some stuff here and there. And I think it was just sort of their way in hinting at things without getting into it immediately. But I do think at some point, and it's a prediction of mine, but I do think that Scott Gimple will confirm this at some point in the future. He'll just be like, yep, that was a reference to the Civic Republic kind of thing. Q&A, how big would the story change if Negan was traded to the CRM? Well, I mean, as of now, I would say probably not a lot would have happened in terms of, just the story for that character. For what we got on the show, yeah, a lot would have changed because the war would have essentially ended. There wouldn't have been a lot of issues, really. The main issue in season 9 that sort of led to Rick's departure was the fact that Maggie and Daryl didn't want to work with the Saviors. They didn't want to work with Negan. They were kind of upset that he was still alive, sort of thing. So it caused all these issues. And then obviously the bridge is something that Rick wanted to build. And it was just, so I do think if the Civic Republic actually just took Negan in season 8, the bridge probably wouldn't have needed to be built. I think a lot of those issues would have just kind of went away, and I think overall they would have been fine, and Rick would have just been living there in Alexandria. Q&A, will you play the Walking Dead Telltale games? I'm really looking forward to it. I will be. I will be streaming those on Twitch. I'm just more trying to figure out how to do it, because I would like to do face cam, and that's kind of my only real hang up on that right now, but I definitely... I would for sure. I am. I'm actually planning to stream the Walking Dead Betrayal game, I think is what it's called. I'm just going to stream it for a little bit and just kind of test it out, see what it is. Q&A, do you think Heath could appear as a variant walker against Daryl in that arena? Is that what we saw in the trailer? Yeah, I did a video on this the other day, actually. And, I don't think he's a variant walker. I think it's possible that he was turned into a variant walker, or at least tested on, and I think he could have been sent to France, but I still think overall, though, he's dead. Because if this would have happened, it would have happened years ago, right? Years ago, 10 years ago or more. So it was a very long time ago. At this point, I don't think we're going to really see Heath again. Q&A, do you think they would kill off Carol? And if so, how would she die? You know what? Carol is one of those characters that I don't think they'll ever kill off. I feel like if they were to kill her off, there would just be a lot of fan outrage because I don't know. I don't see them ever killing Carol off. I think out of all of the characters that are main characters, I feel a lot more comfortable saying that she is most likely going to survive. And I'm talking about out of her, Rick, Daryl, Michonne, Maggie, and Negan. I think Carol is most likely to survive out of all of them. And then second, I would have to say, I don't even know who. Maggie, I guess. Carol and Maggie, I feel like you can't kill off. Maggie maybe eventually, you know, once Herschel gets older, because then maybe Herschel could sort of be a lead character at that point. But yeah, I feel like you can't really kill off those characters. Negan, you could definitely kill him off. Rick, you can't really kill him off right now because you technically just kind of did to a lot of characters. So you can't kill him off. The characters that you could kill off are Daryl, Michonne, and Negan. Yeah, that's it. Like, those three characters I think are killable, mostly because Daryl, I mean, obviously at some point he could just die, right? And then with Michonne, I mean, it only makes more sense because of Rick. Like, everyone thought Rick was dead for so long. To kill him off would just be like, I don't know, it's sort of the same reaction, right? But no one's thought Michonne was dead yet. So Michonne I could see, you know, killing off. And then who else? Negan? That's sort of the same thing too. Like, you could kill Negan off at this point now. So, but yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.